Hi Equals, it's Kim, and it's the start of another week. It's not Sunday, it is now Monday. I usually film on Sunday, and today is not a Sunday. Anyway, getting ready for Christmas. You can see that is my Christmas tree behind me. I have a very small place, and so yeah, that does function as the Christmas tree. So today I wanted to talk about some more about diversity. And I want to talk about the diversity that we have in our bodies and in our desires and in our personalities. And in a lot of ways, we do a really good job of celebrating that diversity up to a point. And it's that point that I want to extend. My eyes are green. What color are your eyes? They're probably, most people's aren't green. They're brown, they're blue, they might be hazel. There's all kinds of diversity in the color of our eyes. Right? There's diversity in skin tone, there's diversity in shape of lips, shape of nose, shape of eyes, whether you have eyebrows or not. There is diversity in the length of your neck. I mean, we could go down my body, but this is all you can see, so we'll just use the top. There's all kinds of diversity in the way that our bodies are shaped. And there is some societally decided upon norms. For one thing, that you have 5 fingers and 5 toes. I mean, let's face it, what's the history of, when the baby is born, what's the first question? Does they have all their fingers and toes? I mean, it's a very common thing. Count the fingers, count the toes, right? Because there's supposed to be 5. Guess what? Some babies are born with 6. How many fingers do you have? Okay, ears are supposed to be a certain shape. See mine right there? I got this little extra piece of cartilage. Kind of looks like a Spock ear. All right, it's different. It's not the norm. Is it something people get really weirded out by? No, it's just a Spock ear. I find it kind of interesting. I like having a Spock ear. It makes me slightly different. I'm not into conformity that much. Anyway, how about you? Do you have a birthmark? Something that about you that is outside the norm of what the human body is supposed to look like? Yeah, probably a lot of us do. So why do we put limits on what's acceptable nonconformity and what is acceptable nonconformity? So some people are born with, as we mentioned, maybe 6 fingers, 6 toes. They might have a little extra pinky here. They might have an extra, maybe even an extra appendage. Maybe they've got a big, huge birthmark, big purple birthmark somewhere. We do actually have Siamese twins. We know stuff happens that's outside the norm when babies are created. It is the wild diversity of creation. Diversity occurs. Sometimes, as a society, we have decided that surgery to correct that diversity difference that somebody is born with will provide them with a better quality of life. Sometimes we make that decision for them when they're small, very small, and just correct, like maybe remove that 6th finger, or do something to remove a birthmark, that kind of thing. And we consider that to be helping them have a better quality of life. Sometimes those types of things don't happen until later, and the person gets to decide them for themselves. So it used to be that intersex children, so these are children whose genitalia varies from the norm, and yes, this happens. Think about it. We all talk about how size matters. Genitalia differs. And it actually has wide variations. Some of them are variations that we don't actually think about much. So take, for example, the situation of the African runner who was accused of being a transgender person. they weren't. Their external genitalia looked female. And so the doctor, when they looked at this child, said female and marked an F on their birth certificate. And they were raised female. As it turns out, unbeknownst to the person, the runner themselves, an x-ray of their pelvic region showed that they had undescended testes and no womb. So they had quite a bit of male characteristics due to the testosterone that was being produced by those testes. This is not the fault of this person. This is just the wide diversity of creation. And it happens. Is it right? Wrong? No. If you're a religious person, it was the way God created her. Have I blown your mind yet? Okay, so let's go on. So as far as there's this wide variety in bodies. All right, let's talk about the brain. Do all of us have a brain that works the same way? Nope. Sometimes the brain works differently in a person, and their behavior seems to get in the way of that person successfully navigating the world that we have created. And so we give that person medication to try to normalize their behavior. We've attached a name to this and we call it mental illness. All right, there's that. And then there is variations in the brain that we celebrate. Left brain, right brain, various levels of IQ, emotional IQ, all kinds of differences in the way our brains work. Some people can think spatially and some people can't. There's all kinds of difference in the way brain works. My brain, just as an example, does an interesting thing in that when I consider myself, like without looking in a mirror, right now I'm kind of looking in a mirror, I'm looking right in a camera, so I can see myself, and it always seems weird when I see myself because in my head I visualize myself as a much more masculine person, a much more masculine build. But when I look in a mirror, what reflects back at me, fortunately, unfortunately, is a very feminine, curvy silhouette. And I'm often taken aback by what I see in my reflection because it isn't how I think about myself. In a way, and in a very mild form, this would be called gender dysphoria because how I think about myself and how my body looks don't quite match up. Now for me, it's very, very mild and I don't have any desire to fix it. It's not something I need to feel the need to fix it's just a thing. Now for some people, because not everybody's brain works the same way, that dysphoria is severe. And in order for them to have a better quality of life, they need to make some changes. We haven't figured out how to change the brain. Some people think they have, but really we haven't. It's so unknown. So the way, at least for now, to align how the brain thinks and how the body is, and to get rid of or mitigate that gender dysphoria, that sense that things aren't matching up, and the stress or de-stress that can cause, is modifications to the body, which we can do. We do all kinds of surgeries. We repair hair lips. We do plastic surgery. We do all kinds of things to help people feel better about their bodies, to give them a better quality of life. Why do we have a problem when somebody would have a better quality of life if their body matched how they consider themselves in their brain? I don't get it. Why is this a big deal? And why do so many people whose business this is not care so vehemently? It's beyond me. Why don't you tell me what you think? Anyway, for transgender people whose dysphoria is severe enough, changes to the body, whether that's through hormones or actual surgeries, gives them a better quality of life. Why would we deny that to them? And more importantly, why do we care? Doesn't matter to me. Now, I do get that if that person is closely related to you, this could cause some issues. Like, what is it? I can imagine people thinking, well, what does it say about me if my daughter or a parent is transgender? What is my church going to think about me? What are my friends and family going to think? Oh my God, we cannot possibly tell grandma. She just won't get it and she'll be so upset it could kill her. This stuff happens. We are all much stronger individuals than we think. And if we give that much power away to someone else to decide how we are going to react to our loved ones who may wish to transition in order to have a better quality of life, that's on us. We need to figure that out so that we can be supportive and affirming of our daughters, of our parents, of whomever is transitioning. And yes, getting used to calling somebody by a different name or using a different pronoun for them can be a struggle sometimes. I struggle with it sometimes. But as long as we're in the struggle, that's okay. It's when we outright refuse to recognize a person in the way that they see themselves that we get into trouble. All right, so we've talked about the body. We've talked about the brain. Another part of the brain is desire. So I have a question for you. Do you remember the moment you decided to be heterosexual? Presuming you are heterosexual. Do you remember that moment? Probably not. And here's why. If you're heterosexual, the entire society is set up for you. Pictures in magazines are opposite sex couples. TV shows, there's Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus. There's all these opposite sex couples set up for you as models of what is supposed to happen. And so when you get to start to mature in puberty and you start to have feelings for the opposite sex, it feels like it's just what's expected of you. Nobody thinks it's weird. It's exactly how society expects you to mature. And there is no stress or de-stress about those feelings. It's how you're supposed to be. You don't even think about it. Most heterosexual people never even think about it. Some of us, the wonder of diversity, find ourselves as we mature through puberty feeling differently. Now, some of us take a lot longer than through puberty, but end up feeling differently. And now we've got stress and de-stress because we don't know what's going on. Why don't we feel the same way as all our friends? Why are we different? What's going on? Am I alone in the world? All kinds of stress and de-stress because what we feel isn't what society expects of us. We can't feel differently. It's how our brain, the wondrous diversity of the brain, functions. Now we can act in ways that are inconsistent with the way the brain works or consistent with the way our brain works, but that feeling we cannot change. And why would we? We celebrate the diversity of the brain. It's what makes humans different. It's what makes our culture, most of the time, the amazing thing that it is. Why wouldn't we celebrate the diversity? Here at the holidays, everyone, I invite you, celebrate the diversity of our religious beliefs, of our winter holiday traditions, and the wondrous diversity of us all. If you like these videos, give me a thumbs up, hit the red subscribe button. I would love to have you as a subscriber, and give me a thumbs up, because the thumbs up and comments, please. I'd love you to make some comments. The comments and the thumbs up are considered engagement, and Facebook looks at those and decides, oh, this is a video people want to see, and then they put the video out there for more people to see. I would love to spread the message. Have a good week, equals. Bye for today.